One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. I'm here at the 2018 Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association, the National Conference, and I'm joined by Garrett Rowland. Garrett is in his second year as head strength and conditioning coach at Lee University. Greetings, Garrett.
Hey, thanks, Ty. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Garrett, you've been in the profession roughly 8 years, down at Lee University, down in Tennessee. About 4 years ago, Lee decides to make the jump from NAIA to NCAA Division II. And in that process, they decided to, I guess, for the lack of a better word, get serious about strength and conditioning.
Right.
And so they went through a process and they brought you in to essentially build the athletic performance, strength and conditioning structure from the ground up. You guys have 16 sports there.
Yeah, 16.
You've been relatively successful at it. Can you tell us about that process of building the strength and conditioning athletic performance structure from the ground up there at Lee University?
Absolutely. And it's the last 2 years have been exciting. They've been hard work. It's probably the hardest I've ever worked as a coach in my life. It's been rewarding, and at times it's kind of made me want to pull my hair out a little bit. But I'm lucky to have a great support staff. My coaches are awesome to work with. My AD, our athletics, it's been a great opportunity. And starting off, it was just kind of laying the foundation. You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. If you have to have a vision, I would say, to know where you want to go. So, in my initial interview, I had a 5-year plan layout. This is what I want it to look like year one. We're going to get in. We're going to change a few things to make the weight room setup functionality better for our athletes, for the way that I want to kind of do things. They were willing to allow me to have a little bit of a budget to bring in some new things, move some stuff around, just so it could flow better for our athletics. So that was kind of the initial stage and what I wanted it to look like. And then each year it's just kind of progressive from there on adding this or adding that, or adding technology that can help progress our athletes and help innovate in innovative ways that we can kind of understand and educate the coaches on how do we get better as coaches, how do we get better as individuals. And I think that educating the coaches is a big thing too, because not having a strength coach to having a full-time strength coach, there's the term strength and conditioning. There's kind of an underlying theme of what people kind of vision from that word. A guy who's going to come in and yell and holler and scream, and it's not always that case. And I kind of had to educate them on my process, how I coach, how I program, how I develop athletes. I think developing is kind of the word that people tend to gravitate to now. You want to develop kids the right way for the sport. You have to have your coaches on board for it to work. So that was a big part of it too, is educating those coaches on how you can make my job easier, but how I can help to make your job easier as well.
I'd imagine the steps you had to take, right? You mentioned in the interview, and you had to come in and convince the athletic directors and the other powers that be, like, this is the vision I have and this is what I want to implement. But then you had to meet with each individual coach and explain how everything doesn't work for every athlete, and that sport took whatever specificity it took. So you had to explain to each individual one. You just went into it a little bit, but did it take long for them to buy into what you were trying to explain to them? How was that?
I think that they were fairly open when I was in the interview process, and when I got on campus, it was more along the lines of mostly across the board. It's kind of like, hey, you're the strength coach.
Right.
You're going to do what you need to do to get our athletes better. Get our athletes better. That's all we want you to do. And I think from there, like I said, educating them and making them understand of what I can really do and what those processes are. And I think after they kind of saw the initial changes that I made, they got to see me in action. They saw me develop relationships with our athletes and try to build a culture inside the weight room. I think they kind of saw, okay, this guy's for real. He's serious. He's serious about what he wants to do. He's following all of his steps that he talked about in the interview, and he's following all the steps that he said he was going to build and transition to make this place better. And I think once they saw that, it was really easy for everybody to kind of buy in.
Is there an aspect of recruiting, right? When you bring players and potential student athletes on campus, you want them to see every aspect of what you're doing and how they will, come out on the other end of their experience to be bigger, better, faster, smarter, and ready for life. Are you a part of that whole recruiting experience there at Lee University?
Yeah, a lot of coaches will utilize me. They'll give me a heads up, hey, we're bringing this kid by. Sometimes coaches just kind of swing by, and that's okay. I want to be as much a part of the recruiting process as they want me to be. Some just kind of bring them by and show them the weight room, and sometimes they ask me, hey, would you like to say a few words? And I'll hop over. I'll meet anybody they want me to meet. And I think it's important that the kids coming in, if they're being recruited, our coaches want them. I want them. Whether or not they're going to be a dynamic force or whatever, I'm going to try to create a relationship with every athlete on campus because I want to. My overall goal is to try to create better people on the long end. And it's not just for athletics. We want to be competitive. We're going to be competitive no matter what. But I want those kids to know that the first thing that I want you to say, if anybody asks you about me personally, is that Coach G really cares about his athletes. He cares about us as people.
Tell us a little bit about the structure there. Like, who do you report to when you need something? Who do you talk to when students come to you with a problem? I mean, tell me how that works in the structure there at Lee.
Well, when it comes to scheduling, that was one of the things coming in. It's the hardest thing for a strength coach to schedule for, especially when you have a certain amount of space like we do. We have 2,500 square feet. We have a certain amount of racks. With bigger teams, it's harder. So, the first thing I came in is just like, hey, I need to have full scheduling responsibility. If I need to schedule a team over this team or change this team around, I need my ADs back. So that was a conversation we had. He gave me that. He said, it's your schedule. You do what you have to do to make sure that everybody gets that everybody can get better. So, that was kind of a conversation we had. But if I have anything that I need, I'm reporting directly to the athletics director. We have a great relationship. He loves his coaches. He takes care of us. So it's one thing that I'm really appreciative that I have a great AD to work with, somebody who cares about his coaches as people first, but then also he cares about them on a coaching level as well. So
the trend we see now is athletic performance and strength and conditioning report to a sport administrator who's kind of over the whole health and well-being aspect, whether athletic training, mental health. Is there some type of collaboration there on campus there at Lee?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's all for the athletes, and we have a great relationship, and I think that's another thing that at Lee University is a good example of, we're stepping in the right direction. I came in, and, the head athletic trainer was part of the interview process, and, I think that, they wanted to hire somebody who was going to work with them, not against them. And I think that sometimes in the field of strength conditioning and with athletic training, sometimes you have strong opinions, and sometimes those opinions kind of get personal. And I think that, me coming in, I have opinions, but I'm also willing to put myself in other people's shoes, listen. They know what they're doing on their side of the room, and I know what I'm doing on my side. How can we work together to make it beneficial for our athletes? Right. That's the most important thing.
It is. In the end, every move that we make as sport administrators, coaches in the profession and industry, we should be asking ourselves, is what we're doing good for the student athlete? Exactly. And it sounds like you guys do that well there. Now, when you came in, you talked about a 5-year plan. You're in year 2. How do you feel about the direction you're going in terms of executing that 5-year plan?
Sure. Yeah. We're cranking right along. In fact, you can have a plan, and things often change, right? So, I mean, I think I've gone back this last semester, and I continue to go back and look, and we adjust that plan. So, the first plan was step 1, step 2, step 3, so on and so forth. I think I've been able to jump to year 2, year 3 kind of prematurely just because I've been able to get so many things done. And I think that's a testament to the athletics program as a whole and their ability and their willingness to give me what I need so far. So, it has worked so far, and I don't see it going in any other direction.
Deviating too far from what you planned. Well, it seems like it's working there. You guys have been relatively successful, I assume, with what you've been implementing. Tell me about some of the things that you've been able to accomplish in athletics.
Yeah, I mean, again, going from NAIA to Division II, you make that jump. There's a lot of different rule changes that happen with the NCAA. I think that's the biggest thing the coaches have had to adjust to, but we have still been very successful at the Division II level. I mean, this year, we're in contention for the Gulf South Conference All-Sports Trophy, potentially taking the women's side, potentially being top 3 in the men's and hopefully top 3 overall. So when you look at that and you look at the level of competition that's already in the Gulf South Conference the teams that are around the Gulf South Conference, you got West Florida, you got Valdosta, you got West Al, West Georgia, Delta State. I mean, all those teams, Mississippi College. You have a lot of great teams that are around that you kind of hold a light to, and if we're competing with them and we can show that we're winning some conference championships, then it's definitely a place that has grown quickly, and it's something that I don't see it kind of shutting down. We've had regional championships out of men's and women's men's and women's cross country. We just had our first women's soccer Gulf South Conference championship. Our baseball team played for the men's the baseball Gulf South Conference championship yesterday. Hats off to Mississippi College. They took over, but it's an exciting time, and I think our coaches can see the brand of athletics that we're building at this level, and I think they're excited about it, and so am I.
Excellent. Well, this has been a great conversation here. It's very interesting and exciting to see what you guys are doing down there at Lee University. I just want to thank you for joining us here on One Question.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
That was Coach Garrett Rowland. He's the head strength and conditioning coach at Lee University. He has helped them make the transition from NAIA to Division II. They started the strength and conditioning program and hired them on to help them do it, and they've been very successful over the last couple of years. And this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.